Good morning, good morning. Welcome to 4x8 Paper Stuff. This is Beth. Welcome to day 3 of the Turkey Diaries, a journal where I am showing and sharing my calendar for a fictitious person, theoretically, um, planning for her month of November with her staff and the things they have to do to prepare for Thanksgiving Day dinner at her house. So it's all in good fun. It is a huge parody on life. And I was talking to you here, but I had to edit some stuff down because even with editing and speeding up clips, I was still at 35 minutes. I try not to make the videos long during the week because I know people have jobs and working, and who has time to listen to me babble for, 30 minutes about rodeo. Um, but I was just telling you, this is what I'm doing. I wanted to use that logo up there in this spread today, and I'm trying to do that every once in a while, use something from the actual magazine, including that buffalo is going to be in it for sure. um Anyhow, but I just love the logo of the rodeo, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. I already had my journaling done on blue paper. I read it to you. There's a lot of things in there about cardamom and spices and where they are sourced from, and I was going with it. I didn't like the blue paper. Well, I didn't know at this point I didn't like the blue paper, but I had jars of jam and I wanted to use acetate. So I cut and then I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do it. And I do fold a flap underneath, and I tried to put watercolor on the acetate, a scrap, but I of course dunked my journal promptly in it and smeared it everywhere. So I don't know if that's going to work, but I'm going to test it again and just let it dry overnight and see what happens, because that would be fun. I know you can print on this acetate, but me trying to get, there's where I dunked my book in the wet paint. Me trying to get that coordinated right now is not going to happen. So maybe later in the month I'll have my what's more about me. Don't count on it though. Anyhow, so I took a plate and I cut a round circle, and I'm making a tip in. There's where I've discovered where the paint was. And trying to match it with the edge of the page. And I'm replicating a jam jar lid is what is happening in my head, believe it or not. But again, I want to use my paper as much as I can that I've painted, paper pads full of paper here. So I need to use them. They're beautiful. One day I'm just going to make a book out of just the paper I've painted, and just put it in there and call it complete and move on to another clean white paper pad and start painting again. But right now I want to try to use what I have a little bit so that I have room for more books to be stored, and journals. So I'm trying to, don't ignore me while I struggle with the stupid double-sided tape backing. And I'm folding it over, trying to get it straight. It's basically straight. And then I'm going to put this in, and now I will have a anchored tip in with the acetate underneath the paper that I painted. But not covering up the rodeo logo, because for some reason, that was just grabbing me. I don't know why, but it was. And my plate size worked for that little bit there too, so I was happy. So now I need to trim everything off and pretend like it was straight to go on there. And I'm looking through this not Daphne's Diary, the paper book again to see if I could find some coordinating paper. I like the ombre, but I didn't want the ombre with this particular spread. But I think I finally found a pale pink page that matches that pink over there, and hold your water, but I'm going to put dots on it. Hold your water is a southern saying for hold on a minute. Stop all that. Stop the presses. Hold your water. I'm going to struggle with the tape, but I'm going to put polka dots somewhere. I know. Who am I? The dot girl. My name is Dot Matrix. God. I'm loopy by this point already. I've sat here for 2 hours almost trying to do this, and I finally got it. But, okay, so now I'm happy. I got a background. I got an acetate piece that works. That pocket will not be there in the future, trust me. I'm going to I cut these 2 pieces down from my photo stack, and am able to get them back to back on here. I cut them together so that they were the same size. That I did plan ahead. But I wanted to use these other jam jars, and then I decided in the end, no. But this is where the polka dots come in. I took the scrap and started cutting dots. Thought you can't have too many dots someplace. I even contemplated on being really modern and trying to, create another curve, a tiny one on the edge of that other side. In the end, spoiler alert, I don't use that, but it needed some more color on it, so I added some more pink and yellows and orange, tutti frutti colors for fruit jam, and seeing if I can, kind of transfer that semicircle shape over to the other side. Again, replicating jam jar lids is what's happening in my head. I don't use it, but it does come in handy. So anyhow, and the jam jars were not doing it for me. I even had to cut the camera off. I think it was the silver of the jam jar lids and the blue paper was really, really, getting to me. So then I thought, okay, what if I put polka dots everywhere? And then what if I coordinate the color of the polka dots? The oranges on one side and the pinks on the other and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I don't know. I even thought about putting them at like a wreath around the edge and labeling them for different color kind of jams. But that was going to be too much for me. Arranging them slightly and taping that blue paper on because I already know I want to change it. But in my head, I started thinking that the blue paper doesn't reflect the name rodeo anywhere in it. My journaling on that. So if I change the paper, the color of the paper, I might as well change the wording a little bit to reflect rodeo, which for some reason I want to use very badly. I don't know why, but it just had to be used. I just thought it was cool. So I got my dots. I got my paper around the dots good enough, and trying to think how I'm going to do this. I cut the camera off again. I get Daphne's Diary out again. So then I'm looking at Daphne's Diary, which is kind of like this magazine. I'm making stories with beautiful pictures, which is what a Daphne's Diary is, right? This is where I show you how the sermon paper came in that little binder. So anyhow, I get the yellow paper out, a scrap that I already had from the other day. I cut it down to the right size, and I cut the sermon title off. And I dug in my bag of tricks here and found a bright pink Flair marker. It's not Flair, but it's a different brand. It's called Two Hands. I'm sure it came from Amazon. But it's a fine point, and they write nice. And so I did my story. Now, I have my story at the end. So you have to wait to the end to hear the story. But I worked in the word rodeo and why that's visible. This was challenging. Why is adding an acetate tip in so excruciatingly painful for me? I don't know. But I persevered. Number one, I persevered. Number two, I persevered. Number three, I love it. Number four, it adds variety into this magazine. I'm sorry that Daphne's Diary doesn't have acetate pages in hers, but maybe next year. You never know. So yeah, I used up some painted paper. I used up a page in my paper source book. I'm using up the sermon paper that I got at the Goodwill. I continue to use this journal. I am not going to let this journal get the best of me. I am going to do it because it is spurring some imaginative things. And if I have pictures that are from Procreate, but I'm not using a lot of editing skills for that, this is where I went in and said, oh, Daphne's Diary has beautiful borders and beautiful cities. That was Munich. And then I found this one that had a lot of pink flowers along the same color family as what I already have the dots in. So we take it out. It's got punches in it. It's kind of a heavy cardstock. And we cut out 2 corners to make a frame eventually around this journaling. And it works. It looks like I had planned this for days and hours. I did not, obviously. And if you look closely, there's even yellow borders showing in places, but I finally, thankfully, hopefully, cut out all the yellow borders. And having a grand old time. The shadows are getting me. Sorry. It's a beautiful sunny day here finally, and this is not usually when I film. So That's how late this is turning into. But anyhow, sorry about the shadows. And because it is a well-known parody from a woman, and she's very precise in all of her crafts. I need to make sure my lines are straight, so I use the paper cutter. Anyhow, all right, so I have this down, loving it, loving it, loving it. Throw the blue one away, in with the old, out with the new. So then I took the pink scrap and punched pink dots, which there were 7. If anybody knows me long enough here, they know I like the number 7. And I was able to replicate the dots on the other side of the acetate also. So this was so much fun. Fun, fun, fun. There's shadows everywhere. Sorry. The sun is coming in, which we haven't seen for a couple days, so that's nice to see, but there's shadows everywhere. Sorry. I've got lights on, but it's coming in from the side. All right. This might be one of my favorite pages ever. I don't know why. It's the circles. But I managed to create my story when I had to redo it, or didn't have to, but the blue was problematic. That's what I get for planning ahead. I did the journaling part last night. I'm like, oh, I'll make this work on blue, because I wanted to vary the paper because I think I've used yellow every day. Yeah, but it happens to go with today's, so we're going with it. All right, I changed my story a little bit. Jam is a passion of mine. I like having my own to share with guests and friends. Fruit is mostly grown on my own farm. What needs to be added comes from organic farms in Connecticut and upstate New York. Spices come from a store in the Chelsea market called Rodeo. They harvest their own on their farm and ranch in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. My favorite source of cardamom is from a tiny family farm in Sri Lanka. I was able to visit this family and had cardamom in my dishes, all of which were excellent. I've never tasted better anywhere. So I revamped that a little bit to reflect Rodeo, and here's their business card. See? They're open from 10 to 6. You can go now. Go get, in the Chelsea market, go get your cardamom, or your spices, not cardamom. Cardamom comes from Sri Lanka. But their ranch and farm and all is in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. I love this. I'm not sure what that is. Painted glue, I think. God, can I do one page without messing up? No. But anyhow, here's all my prompts. Yep. See? Called the Turkey Diary prompt sheet. Anyhow, this is so much fun. And I don't apologize for making a parody about this. It's the greatest form of flattery. And this person is Little Tiny Story. I'm really going to give away who it is. Little Tiny Story is, we were in a airport in Bar Harbor, Maine, and we saw her makeup artist and one of her assistants waiting on her with the car that she keeps at the airport there for her landing. She was due right behind us. I only saw and recognized her assistant because he's in a lot of things that she does. He's a flower arranger for her and a friend. And I was listening to them. And they were talking about, we need to make sure we have a car here and a car there. And, they were coordinating their calendars, basically, for her. So, greatest form of flattery. This is so much fun. Why is this fun? It's because it's silly. I'm not making fun of her. I'm not critiquing her. I wish I could get my cardamom in Sri Lanka. Truth be known, I don't even know if I've ever had cardamom. And I don't think cardamom French apple jam jelly would be on my top favorites. But that's okay. That's okay. In my book that now has 2 colors of paint on it, it will be fun. Thanks for watching. See you all tomorrow. Bye.